This has been a long-time passion project for you. I actually understand that you and Marty Scorsese we're about to do another movie about a hitman or something when you sort of put the brakes on it.
Yeah, we were about to do another film, and we had not done something for a long time, so we said, okay, we'll do this. And Marty was starting to show me films like the Jean Gabin film, black and white, to sort of talk about style and stuff. And I said I have to read this book that I had talked to Eric Roth about a few years earlier, called I Heard You Paint Houses, about a hitman, so I thought it'd be good for research. And I read it, and once I did, I said to Marty, I think you should look at this, because this might be what we should really do.
What was it about this character of Frank Sheeran that so appealed to you?
Well, it just had everything in it. The size, the reality, the grandness, the epic quality, just everything. It was historical characters like Jimmy Hoffa, who we don't know what really happened to. Even the Gallo character, we know what happened to him, but we don't know who really did it. It just had all these things in it that were so kind of important historically, and plus a very simple story.
Yeah, and and obviously, you've done a few movies with Martin Scorsese. You may not know. Goodfellas, obviously, Casino. Mean Streets with Harvey Keitel here. But Al Pacino, this is your first time working with Martin Scorsese. It just was astounding to me that hadn't happened before.
Yeah, well, we've been around for a while, because we both were New Yorkers, we lived in, and we are in this business, and we do this thing with our lives, and so we would run into each other, and I got to know Marty throughout the years through Bob and also on my own. And we had several things we almost started, and then it didn't get, how it is. You start things with people sometimes and they don't turn out. Oh my. I don't know. We were doing Modigliani, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it was a Dennis McIntyre play. It was really good. But we had to translate the play into a film, and that took a while. And we were very close with it, but almost.
Well, now you did it. And let me say, you really did it. For better or worse, you now own Jimmy Hoffa.
Well, it was great to get to know this character and to work with Bob and the boys, Harvey and Joe and all the others, and it was great to be there and be a part of this thing naturally, because I even started later, because I was doing something else and they started filming, so I had to hop on the moving train, and but it was I know them, it was easier, they just took me in. I worked with Bob before, I worked with him all the time.
A little movie called Heat. And Godfather Part 2.
He was my father. Really helped me out a lot. But it was
proud of it.
Yeah. I was fishing, But anyway, it was a kind of a comforting thing to be around, and the work with Martin Scorsese usually is, like I said, is like having for actors, it's very important to have that kind of trust. And I use the tightrope walk analogy, tightrope walker, and with Marty, he is the net. You have a net, and so you take chances, and he just makes you feel that way. Great. All the great directors do that. They have a way of giving you that sense of trust that you know someone's taking care of you, so you can go. You're gonna, you know, you're dealing with someone with a very special sensibility and understanding of things, and so that was there. It was apparent in his.
It's amazing, and this guy right next to you here, Harvey Keitel, I think of everybody here. You go back the furthest in terms of films with Martin Scorsese, because you were in Who's That Knocking at the Door? Am I right? Yes. In the late 60s.
Martin.
And yes, yeah.
No, he said at my door. He was correct.
Oh, my door. All right. So yeah, you go way back. So what's it been like? Because you've done several films with him.
I'm sorry, what's
You've done several films with Martin Scorsese. He keeps bringing, yes, Taxi Driver, obviously, you know, they're going to yell out every movie you make. What was it like for you being back on the set with him?
Well, I gotta say this one thing. I remember when I was a young actor and I didn't have an agent. I remember asking how I get an agent and all that, and someone said to me, go up to the Screen Actors Guild, and they have postings on the wall of auditions and this and that. And I remember going up to the SAG headquarters in New York City and trying to find an agent on the list they had there or something like that. And it was crowded with a lot of people, and I didn't know what all those people were doing sitting around there. They were all old people, younger than me. No. And someone said, they're actors. And I looked around the room and there were all these older actors. And I remember saying, God, please don't let this happen to me. So I'm looking at this audience, I'm wondering, who of me is out there now looking at me here? And I don't know what to say to you.
I think they're probably all saying, please let this happen. I know acting.
Okay, I'm glad you welcomed me your journey that way, because you know what I mean.
Thank you.
And Ray Romano, this is your first time working with Ray, you were just like a natural mob guy to me. I don't know. You get it down here. And you know, to see that scene where you and Bobby Cannavale are in it, but you're there with Harvey Keitel and De Niro and Joe Pesci, I mean, that must have been just a thrill, acting-wise, just to do.
Yes, if you mean surreal and frightening. But I had a thrill at the same time. Yeah, it was all, I mean, it's still kind of unbelievable to me. This is not the first time I worked with Martin, because I was on vinyl. He did a show vinyl. And that's how I got in the door, was I put myself on tape, and we sent the tape to Marty, and the comment we got back was, he likes what he sees, and he's never heard of him before. Yes, and my agent said, oh, so he's never seen the TV show? She goes, no, he's never heard of him. But it ended up being a blessing, because he hadn't seen me do 9 years of that character on TV. And he was able to just see that I was right for this role. So I got cast in vinyl, and then for this, he just gave me this part, so I didn't have to go on tape. So he didn't see me audition, which scared the hell out of me, because how does he know I can do it? I don't know if he knows I can play this role. So it was all very frightening, but I mean, if you do work for him, you find out how comfortable he makes you feel and how open he is, and it was just a dream come true, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of research did you do with Bill Buffalino into that whole aspect of it?
Well, he's a real character, he's a real person, and they gave us a lot of info. They had one small clip of him in a scene, I guess, testifying to Congress or something, just like a sentence, and that's kind of all I had. But so I took that, and then what I didn't know, I just kind of wrote a little backstory for him, and I just went from there. And I knew he was like, with these guys, but he wasn't one of these guys. You know, he wasn't you don't get afraid when he walks in the room. You know? Unless it's a courtroom. In a courtroom, then he's in full control, you know? So that's, I kind of built that up from what I didn't know about him. Yeah.
And Sebastian, what's it like getting murdered by Robert De Niro?
Highly, highly recommended. No, when I found out that I was going to get killed in a movie by Mr. De Niro, I was like, I mean, listen, I'm a comedian. I don't really do a lot of acting, so I can't even believe I'm on the panel. I'm sitting here looking, I go, was there a mistake? But listen, for me not doing a lot of acting in my life, and then to be put into this scenario, and my first day of shooting was with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, I was shitting in my pants. And I don't know how to behave on a set. I mean, a lot of people go, oh, you know, you're the comedian where you cracking jokes in between, you know, when Scorsese said cut, were you like talking to De Niro? I said, I didn't talk at all. There was a point where me and Mr. De Niro were like, they were lighting something and we're staring at each other and I'm looking at him and I go, is this guy gonna say anything? But the only thing he did say is he looked at my tie and he goes, your tie is wrong. And right there I thought, oh, I'm gonna get fired. So he adjusted my tie and I just didn't speak unless spoken to. I was just happy to be there and I learned a lot. I mean, listen, I grew up with all these guys, including Mr. Romano as a comedian, and for me to be a part of this, I was just like super, super excited and was just really taking it all in. And you know, in life, sometimes you wonder, should I be here? I mean, should this be happening? And then it happens, and then you're like, yes, you know what? I should be here, and that's the experience I had. I didn't have a lot of confidence going into this because it's very new to me, but then when it started, I'm like, yeah, there's a reason I'm here, and I was just really privileged to be a part of this whole thing, so thank you.
And with Martin Scorsese's authenticity and everything has to be authentic and things, you got whacked in this movie very near where the real Joey Gallo got a shot too. And that's a key thing in this movie, the locations, and you're in Howard Johnson's, you know, and everywhere, which is what I love about Scorsese movies too, because it's just right down to the tiniest little details. But this one is revolutionary, and I think that's why it might have taken a long time to get made and get financed, is you guys were, with this new technique, de-aged, obviously, by several decades at different points. And after 10 minutes into the movie, when I saw this movie, I didn't even think about that. You know, it is so seamless, and it is so real, and you just don't notice it, you just accept it. Did you think you could not make this movie if that technology wasn't available?
No, we were thinking originally, when we started the project, maybe who would be the younger actors and so on. And as time went on and years went on, technology got more advanced, if you will, and the idea of doing it, trying to make it as good as it could be, state-of-the-art as it could be, with ILM and Pablo Hellman, youthification, as Marty says, became more of a reality, and especially with Netflix coming in, they would finance it, then it became, let's do it this way. Yeah.
Was there any particular challenge in that for you in acting? Because when they've done anything like this in the past, they put dots on your face, they put things on your head, and you guys are not gonna act like that. So they actually had to do it with cameras, I guess.
Well, they had a few things, but nothing, you know, little makeup spots and stuff on your clothes, but nothing distracting.
Yeah.
And we don't see as well.
We don't see as well anymore.
We had a little, R2, U2, R2.
R2D2.
Computer guy.
R2D2.
Right there?
Oh, yeah, right there, the robot, the camera, right?
Wow.
You saw it, didn't you?
Yeah, no, they were cameras. They take a lot of pictures and get as much information digitally, I guess, on your face and so on, so they could help make you.
What do
You
you
get
guys
used
think?
to it, you get used to
You
it.
got, what do you guys think when you see it? When you saw the movie?
Oh, at first.
Loosen up.
Yeah?
No. It just is there, and you understand it, that's the way it's gonna be. We didn't think about it, I never, you never mentioned it once.
No, the thing that we were more, I think, concerned about was we had a guy named Gary Chacon who would be our, what was it, movement,
Oh, the movement guy, yeah, the
yeah.
movement.
Movement analyst.
yes, is that what okay,
Yeah.
movement analyst. So he would tap us on the back if we were, you know, he'd say you're 39 now, or you're 40.
Yeah, right. I look 39,
That is the part of it, yeah, the physicality. So you had to get used to every single age, is that?
Was going? Wow.
Was that a particular challenge, or did you just go?
totally a challenge, totally.
Yeah?
Can't be done.
How about the scene after JFK assassination where you're running out and you see the flag up there and Jimmy Hoffa does not want it at half staff, and
I don't know what happened to me that day. I don't. Did you hear about it? Oh, you were there, actually. Yeah. I don't know, it was cold, for one thing. And it was really cold. And I didn't want to do too many takes of this and stay out in the cold. So I thought, I better do this thing the right way, meaning the fast way. And I went, because I'll be out here a few more minutes, and you know, I'm a bit fragile now, older age, I get a little sick. So I went up fast. I don't know how I did it. It was terror, of course, of getting sick.
You were bounding up the stairs. I
I don't know
couldn't
how I
believe
did it. He was shocked, I saw his face.
That's a powerful scene. You know, they're wearing at the premiere tonight. I'm with Hoffa. You know, vote for Hoffa. You know, he's had a revival here.
Well, you know what's interesting about, you know, you get a lot of, when you're acting a role, is, you know, you have this opportunity to read up on the data of these characters. They're all in the internet, and you can get a lot of, you can get the way they behave and how they talk and what they do. And I learned a lot about him. And Marty, of course, understood it and gave me things to read. But the thing with Hoffa is that he was this. He had a sense of vision about what he wanted, this union, and how, so that when he was even in prison, he formed. You know, he got the prisoners together, and yeah, he said, I don't see how they could be treated like this, and put it all together. And this is also a guy who had the difficulty with Robert Kennedy Jr. and then has Dr. Martin Luther King as somebody he really looks up to and admires. So he's many things. Of course, a very interesting person. Came from he came from the place where he was 17 and he saw the cops busting people over the head and the riots and child labor and all of it, and he went through that, and he had this drive and this need. Really, it was quite a thing, and I didn't know that because I grew up and I knew of Hoffa. We all knew of Hoffa. You know, he was an icon, really, and then, but we didn't quite know what he did. We didn't know if he was a gangster, or, you know, we didn't know quite what he did, but there was something with unions and stuff. and then he was disappeared. So that was really I remember that as being a very dominant thing in the news and out and about. So, but there's a lot of data on it, and
But it's never been, I mean, they just say he disappeared. There's never been proven, but this book comes along, and Frank Sheeran, basically on his deathbed, is giving this interview to Charles Brandt and saying, I did it, and I know what happened, and the mafia was involved with JFK's assassination, and a lot of stuff in this book, which sounded authentic to me because it was so detailed. And that's the thing, you have to wonder, wow, I mean, could a guy just make this all up, or did that even matter to you in playing this? I mean, you're doing his story the way he tells it.
Well, it matters, I mean, but it was so specific, that's what mattered. I mean, it was so specific. If it's a good story and very plausible, and until someone comes along with something better, I believe it.
well, if somebody explains how they got here, if I were to tell you how I got here, when we were in the other place, we came down and what we did with the cars, and then so-and-so was there. And I think in the book, that's what you hear, and it's the credibility starts to mount, because you don't tell a story with that kind of detail unless you've been through it.
It's really amazing too, and the way Scorsese does it here, he doesn't put any cards up. Typical Hollywood movie will say, first they'll say inspired by a true story or something, and at the end they'll say, and then this was never found and whatever. There's nothing, it's just the story, credits roll. And I thought that was really good to do that and just tell his story here. Now, you guys all have histories together. Harvey, Mean Streets with Robert De Niro, I mean, my God, and to see you back on screen again here together. Your memories of working on that movie with De Niro, and when did you actually meet him? Did you know him before that, or?
I'd met him in front of the Actors Studio. An actress I knew and he knew introduced us. On our first meeting, it's something very dear to me, because this girl's name was
This can't be happening.
What was her name? She said, Harvey, this is Robert. Robert, this is Harvey. And I remember vividly, we looked at each other. We did this. And we broke into a grin. And it became a smile. Then they called everyone into the actor studio. We never spoke a word to each other. Until we met a year later when Marty was going to do Mean Streets.
Amazing. And you actually knew Martin Scorsese when you were teenagers, didn't you? And you grew up in the same neighborhood?
Well, I hung out in the neighborhood that Marty was from, and I had friends. I hung out with other kids, but we had a mutual friend or two that would go between our two groups, and so I was aware of Marty being a student at NYU, and he was going, he's studying film, and he's directing a play, and this and that. He hears stuff from time to time, and so yeah, we'd see each other in the street and wave. And so.
Now, there's one guy that's not here on this panel, and I've got to do a big shout out to him because he was great in this movie. Your cousin, Buffalino, Mr. Buffalino here, Joe Pesci. So they're all applauding and thanking you two for getting him to come out of retirement here and do another movie.
Well, he just told me before that he said, I was never in retirement. I just didn't find anything I wanted to do. But we're all glad that he did our movie, of course.
Yeah, was it difficult to convince him to do this? I mean,
No, I said, Joe, come on, you got to do it. It's the, when are we going to? This is it, probably for all of us. So,
that's one way to put it.
he loves Marty, and I hope he loves me, and I said, come on, we gotta do it, you know, and so he finally, when it became more real that it was gonna happen, and the actual date and so on, he got on board.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie, and it's being shown. You know, there's new ways now of doing movies. They saw it on probably the best projection you can ever see here at the Motion Picture Academy. A lot of people are going to see it on Netflix too, around the world. And I remember talking to you on the phone, doing an interview with you, and you were just about to go start to shoot this, and you said we couldn't have made this, we could not have gotten to this point without Netflix on this film.
Yeah, we couldn't have. I mean, we were, as I was saying, we were thinking of using younger actors for us, but then as the time went on, technology got better and better of this sort of stuff, and so it was finally decided that we would go this route, having also the backing of Netflix, and knowing that Pablo Hellman and ILM were going to do the best that they could possibly do. They really were going to make it as special, so that excited everybody that it would be, you know, the best that it could be at the time. For now.
And it's so well written. Steve Zalian, you know, it's such an interesting look at it's you know, a very kind of a wistful almost look, you know, as opposed to what we call mob movies and things like that. Most of the mob now is running the government here. So it's not exactly, you know, what the old days were like, but this movie sort of brings that back in that way, and the themes of it. Is that what you think too when you read it and started it?
Yeah.
My favorite kind of De Niro answer. What about you, Al, you know, and being a part of this movie and what it means? Sort of theme-wise, you know.
Well, I think too that Marty's, I said to Marty after I saw it, that I thought that he wouldn't have been able to make this film even 10 years ago. And because there's something about his age and his experience and the things he's tried that comes out in this film, because at the end of it, you're left with a certain feeling, and I can't even describe what that feeling was for me, but it had something to do with, you know, life, and it sort of is about us, really, in a way. So there's a lot of feeling in there. Someone said to me, and it is kind of a love story, too. It has that aspect running through it. I mean, these guys, I mean, it's amazing situation that Frank is in, and he has to deal with. But yet, when Marty sort of captures a certain kind of thing, which is almost ephemeral, but you feel it because of his artistry and his knowledge of things. He's very knowledgeable and very smart. And so it comes off almost in to me anyway, it was in a kind of it wasn't a very obvious way. Yeah.
Well, it's, I didn't know if you were done or not. That was
I was about to cry.
I say that's because Al Pacino, we hang on to your every word. You know, tonight is your big premiere here in LA. I'm going to let you get back to it, but thank you for coming out, talking to us.